Hey, this is December 10th, Thursday morning. I did a video yesterday of the fog, and this morning the fog is burned off. And I did quite a bit of work yesterday along the property line. I reviewed the video I made. A lot of things I missed, I didn't talk about. But this is a gutter system that I had to put in because of the grading of the lot and the finished floor elevation of the house. Again, like yesterday, this is how I transition from the bottom of the downspout into the tube, and this tube runs on all underneath all these plants. And all this land we're looking at right now, this landscape for this house right here and the next house had to be reworked. And you're looking at the results of my hard labor and about $3,000 or $4,000, 2 years of hard labor and $3,000 or $4,000 of work. I had to bring in an excavator, gave him $3,000 to scrape off and remove about 75 to 100 yards of dirt. So this slope that you're looking at, as you look at the far patio and you see the land fall away from that patio. 5-6 years ago, the land went uphill from the patio. And right about in line with the camera and the bush, the two sage off in the distance, right along here, the land was 4 inches higher than my patio. That's why we had to remove 100 yards of dirt off of 2 lots. There was a berm that was 4 inches higher. Now, if you can see the third lot past this, my house, the second house, I used to own the third, but you can see that third lot, how it doesn't drop away from the house. Actually, from the patio it goes uphill, and when it rains, water is trapped against the patio. Okay? After regrading the lot, right here between the two houses, it's been all sculpted. I got a video where I spent all afternoon sculpting it to a drain, and I have another video of me installing a 4-inch drain. But there's a 4-inch drain right about here. And all of this has been reworked. And you don't see any weeds at all in here, and there never are any. All summer long there's no weeds in here, because after I sculptured, I had to build a plateau about in line with those cement block that encloses that air conditioning. I had to elevate, and I have a video of that. And then I laid down, I sculpted a uniform pitched like runway for the water to run down to this drain. So I sculpted between the two houses for any water that is collected between the houses, that it runs to this drain right here. Okay? It's about 2 or 3 feet towards me underneath this rock. And then what else I did is I put 2 layers of 6 mil plastic and a layer of tar paper before I covered it with the rock. That is why we never get any weeds on this side of the house, and it's a good thing because my neighbors never come to this side of the house. Okay, now I'm going to give you a before and after. Before I did all that work, invested that money and time, all the water in a tremendous rainstorm, say we get a ½ an inch in one drop. A ½ an inch in a couple hours is a lot of rain. That's pretty good rain coming off that roof. And before I did the work, before I installed the drain, and before I regraded my lot on the way to the golf course, all the water was trapped up here. Right there where you see that transition, where that elbow is right there, about 4 feet to the right of that was the lowest spot in all of parcel 12. That's where the lake started, that's where it ended. And then I've seen my patio, this patio, partially underwater. I've seen my stoop on the other side of the house underwater. And another trick I did with the plastic and the tar paper, after regrading, you have to understand that all in front of this patio, all the way out to where they had this berm, all the way out to here, to this line, for the first 8 years was uphill. It was 4 inches uphill from that patio to the berm they had here. And then it dropped off quick to the line where the cactus is. It dropped off real quick, but the damage has been done. That meant that during a storm, all the water that came off this roof and off my neighbor's lot and off my roofs was trapped up here on these lots. On all 3 lots, they had the water trapped as a retention basin. Okay, I broke that chain by regrading my 2 lots. Now, that's a little primer, but what I did from today to yesterday, these, I forgot to tell you what they were. These are Mexican sage. They were on sale. They were like half off, or 2/3 off at Lowe's. They were on the leftover table. Okay, and I was talking yesterday about the 3 pipes that converge. Well, they converge right there under these rocks. I've got the pipes hidden, but you've got a pipe that goes more or less under that whole tree line, and it terminates here. And as we look down this line, yesterday I shot this line and I hadn't done much work on it, but as you can see, I'll zoom in. Yesterday I'm going to uncover that line because I'm not using it anymore, and I'm going to pull the rock back from this line of plants and kind of survey. Once I get it all pulled back about a 4-foot space, I'm going to start surveying the pitch, the drop, the rise and run, the incline, the angle of incidence, whatever you want to call it, from the marker stake for the property line up there to this marker stake down here, which is right about there. Right about where this cactus is what the property line stake. Okay? But about 3 or 4 years ago, I spent one day, I planted 32 dwarf myrtles in one day. And I'm being very patient. I haven't given them a lot of attention. I've trimmed them once. I haven't given them any fertilizer, but they get water. And at first I didn't give them much water, but I've realized they need water. So I've upped the amount of water, and they're starting to come along. And it's a definite boundary line, okay? But yesterday, I'm going to walk down what I did, and what I intend to do is, I'll zoom out, back out. Okay, all that rock was delivered from West Valley Rock. Last year I ordered a load of rock and it was mostly dirt. They must have went to the bottom of the pile. And what I'm going to do is uncover this, salvage the pipe. I'll use it someplace else. It's 1-inch PVC. But all this rock you see here that I'm pulling back from the pipe, that has to be sifted. I have a soil sifter, and I'm going to put all that where you can see the sand that's in it. It's filled with sand. And I need that sand for like flower beds and other things. And I need the rock sifted so that it drains better. So I'm going to sift the sand out of the rock. I'm going to spend the next couple of hours uncovering more. This is a 2-week project at least. I'll be working on this probably until April in one way or another. I'm going to have this uncovered. I'll have water levels out here. I'm going to be surveying it. I'm going to try to make either graduated step down all the way to there, all the way up the line, try to step it down. I don't know how much of a drop. It could be as much as a 1-foot drop from there to there. And I can also check to make sure the property line elevation, this property line with the plants on the blueprint has a topical elevation. It has a topographical elevation for this property line. It has an elevation for the property marker for the boundary of the lot there. It has an one right there where you see the rock. This rock divides the 2 lots that we're standing on. That more or less is another marker. There's a drop there. But that line is blueprint printed on the community map. It's blueprinted to be a specific spec'd out elevation. And I don't think it is. I think it's high all the way down. And then they not only made, and the only reason it's as low as it is right now is that 3 years ago when I did all this regrading work, I took it down probably at least 6 inches to a foot all along its whole length. It was a lot higher, its whole length. So when it was built by the builder built the property line high. Then after they built the property line high, they dropped this house elevation 3 inches. That's head pressure. It's like dropping a 12-volt battery to a 9-volt battery. You took away voltage, you took away head pressure, you took away gravity. Then you raised this property line so there wasn't any differential, right? The faster the water runs from there to the property line is determined by gravity. You made this line high, you made the house low, so you cut the gravity, the pace of the water getting off the lot, in half. And where these bushes are, right here, right in line with these bushes, and you can see where my neighbor's lot, where that big bushy thing is, where it goes uphill. That used to be my lot. Everything went uphill from the patio. And my neighbor's lot ran onto my lot, like my neighbor's lot over there runs onto my lot. Okay? as I said, I spent $6,000 in about 2.5 to 3 years hard labor correcting this. Now, getting back to the front of this house, what we're looking at right now is the front, or the golf course side of the house, the back patio facing the golf course. Right now, I've got it sort of sculpted to where if the land falls away from the patio. For 8 years, it went uphill from the patio. For 8 years, every time it rained hard, over there between the two houses where I was just there with the long eaves, there was a lake there. There would be a lake in front of here. There'd be a lake over there. A lake here. The house was surrounded by a moat every time it rained. And the reason it was surrounded by a moat is because the water couldn't get out. They put a berm, a protective berm, to protect the golf course from runoff about 25, 30 yards out, and made it higher than my patio. They did it on all the lots up here to keep water off the golf course. Now, this patio right here and that patio are supposed to be the same elevation. The patio you're looking at there is the lowest elevation, topographical elevation patio in all of parcel 12. Now, the trouble with that statement is that there isn't supposed to be a lowest patio in parcel 12. There's supposed to be 6 patios that share the designation of the lowest patios in all of parcel 12. The 3 on the east side of Tract A and the 3 lots, building lots, both east and west of Tract A, those 6 lots were all supposed to be the same elevation. They were all supposed to have an equal chance to drain onto the golf course. This house specs out to agree with the blueprint. This house is 3 inches lower. There's only about 10 or 12 feet from that patio to that patio, but there's a 3-inch drop, and there isn't supposed to be. They're supposed to be equal. Now, because they dropped the patio 3 inches here, and they put a berm where the water had to run uphill, and then they made this property line high, you have to remember it's lower now because I reworked it and regraded it. It's lower now than it was before. It was high before. And then it went uphill for about 10 feet to a berm that was higher than my patio. Redneck engineering. A local agreement. We stole it fair and square. The golf course is not to be a skid plate in a storm. The golf course is the golden goose. It's a revenue generator. It's our favorite pawn on the chessboard, our business chessboard. And the last thing we're going to do is burden this golf course with damage from drainage from a monsoon. We're open for business. We don't want that cash register shut down for a minute. Therefore, we're going to let them keep using the lots up there on that hill for drainage. We're not going to accept their water coming down track day. We're not going to agree with the blueprinted grading map that's the authority for the community. Now, the authority for the community is the grading map. The community grading map. That's got all the property elevations. It's got the finished floor elevation. It's got each elevation at each point of the property. Where the properties border each other and they border the golf course, there's a specific elevation. That was ignored and tampered with at will by the builder while they built the lot. As soon as they had, they knew they had $30,000 of my money, the first thing they did is go in and lower this finished floor elevation. They needed a place, what they call breaking in. This was piracy. This was piracy. It was sabotage. It's a booby trap. It's a booby trap. You booby trap my land with water. In any case of that, if that pipe was to ever fail, not the pipe isn't going to fail. All you got to do is get the water to that pipe, and because that pipe is pitched way out of limit, you haven't got to worry about the water. It's the blockage of the pipe. It's the blockage of the pipe. The pipe has a feed. The pipe has a feed. And if those two feeds get blocked with debris, every storm is different. Every storm is different. Here, one storm you get a hell of a windstorm and it knocks all the limbs off the tree, and then a hell of a rainstorm, a deluge after that. Well, if we get one of these, the way you let trees grow in everybody's yards, and you've got trees hanging over sidewalks everywhere, you can't walk through parcel 12 without seeing trees with their limbs and the trees, the canopy overhanging the sidewalk. Not only are there potential limbs getting blown off and carried down the street in the drain, but also you've got birds that nest in them trees. And all winter long we're going to have bird shit all over. Wherever a tree hangs over the sidewalk, we got a what do you call a fan-shaped pattern of bullshit, bird shit. Come on. So, like I said, if the entrance to the pipes ever gets blocked with trees, limbs, debris, whatever, to where the water backed up, it was going to go here first. It was going to exit the community over my lot first. Okay? I've had too many engineering class, too many class in lawyer with law to not know what they did. It's obvious what they did. It's obvious what they did. Nobody in downtown will talk to me. This is a sales video. This video is made more or less to let anybody know what I'm trying to do with these lots, what it's been with these lots, and what's wrong with these lots. Okay, what's wrong with that house is absolutely nothing. Except that the house sits 3 inches low. Because it sits 3 inches low, the drain utility, the utility that doesn't have wires going to it, the utility that relies on passive, relies on gravity. The more gravity you give it, the better it's going to work. Well, for it to work at the speed it's supposed to work at, the gravity can't be tampered with. And that's what I'm trying to get across to anybody downtown, Craig Houston, the mayor, the HOA, whatever. My next move will probably be to try to find some young ambitious lawyer that will attach to the title of this house that it's built wrong. That the certificate or the permit that was issued to build this house was an error. It should have never been issued. It was a mistake. Either that or it was intentional. I feel it was intentional. It was the pattern of being open for business for this golf course. We're not going to do anything to this golf course that's going to slow down the cash register in the future. Nothing. And if we make it so all the water from all the neighborhoods can run onto this golf course freely, the way it was designed to, there's a chance in a serious storm it might take 3 or 4 days to recover. That's 3 or 4 days that the cash register isn't working. Remember, we're open for business out here in Buckeye. That's our motto. That's our doctrine. That's our tribal knowledge. Whatever comes out here for a plan, business first. Well, business first out here meant that anybody that buys a lot up here is responsible for their own runoff. Okay? This thought of us being a skid plate for your lot or those residential lots, no way. If you can see the profile here, everything from my lots, I've taken them down, but I have to do ditches like that to get the water below the proper. They put not only a berm, they made my property high, the property lot high. They've got berms on both sides. They got a berm between me and the golf course. You see that out here? Everything is uphill. You see all those mounds that go uphill? That goes uphill past the camera over there? That's the second berm. The second line of defense to protect the golf course. If water makes it past here, once it gets to the property line, it still's got an uphill trip to get onto the golf course. And we have air pollution here. You're about to see air pollution, or an example of air pollution. It's called fallout. What's the fallout from? The fallout is from mediocre golf. You see from that tee box right there, all day long I'm in range and down range. He's trying to hit that about 135 yards, and I'm about 40 yards away. Just offline. There you go. There you go. That's the quality of golfer we have out here at Buckeye on Sundance. There's no marshaling. Day in, day out. People walk onto that tee box that don't have a clue what they're doing with a golf club. Not a clue. And I'm right here. I'm 40 yards away. My windows are 40 yards away. My solar panels. See the solar panels up there? 40 yards away. If you look, that one solar panel up there, you see it's got that square on it? That's a broken solar panel. That's from a golf ball. Why? Because the management hasn't caught on to the fact that we don't have professional golfers out here. We got beginners. We got new guys. New guys. New guys that don't know a thing about playing golf. They don't know a thing about hitting a golf ball, and they surely don't know anything about golf etiquette. And the people running the golf course don't know anything. You're just as new as your golfers. You're a reflection of the people that you're sending through here. This is a cattle drive. It's a cattle drive. When one of these young cowboys loses one of their heifers, or a heifer gets disconnected from the herd in the form of a golf ball hit up in my yard because they don't have a clue what they're doing, they're brand new, and they're being coached by somebody that's never taken a lesson, and he's only been playing a week. So they're taking a lesson from another idiot, okay? Sorry to say idiot, but That's what it is. And the real idiots that are people running the golf course. Okay, the idiots that built it and the idiots that are running it, for you to ignore the fact that I'm putting up with this day in and day out. All right? I've had so many human altercations with golfers who expect to walk on my yard. I've had several occasions where I'm working in my yard and they see me standing in my yard and they still cross the line, these plants, to get their golf ball. This is how sacred the rules are out here. This is the tribal knowledge. When you play buckeye and you play sundance, you got a right to walk in everybody's yard. There's no privacy. They built that golf course so tight that everybody understands the people living there, and the guy's selling me a greens fee. They can't expect me to stay on the course if I see a ball go in somebody's yard. I mean, the yard is right there, right off the tee. You put the yard right next to the tee box. And then you're telling me I can't go in and get my ball? What's up with that? Why'd you put them white stakes there anyway? The white stakes there and the white stakes there. You put them there so that I can walk up there and inspect this guy's yard. All right? That's what I expect to do. And if I see a golf ball and nobody home, I'm going to go in and get the golf ball. All right? Now, what I'm going to try to do for the rest of the day, thank you for the spiel, is uncover this and pull everything back. And maybe in a couple days when I come out here again with the camera, I'll have this pipe gone and everything pulled back where I can start with the water level surveying this line. Or I can call a surveyor and have him check the line. But you got 4 people that are going to play from that tee box right there. And there's a good chance that, or 3 guys and a woman will probably walk up. But what guarantee do I have that they're proficient enough not to make a mistake and lose one up here? I've already been hit by a golf ball today. This house right here, between these 2 houses about an hour ago, it's on this tape. A ball landed. I heard it hit a roof or hit the building. I came out and it was landed between the 2 houses. Either came from that fairway, number 5, or it came from this one. But this is my daily diet here. This is what I feed on. And I'm kicked out of the HOA for being combative. Every time I try to go in and explain the situation that these houses and these lots are burdened with, nobody wants to talk to me. You're out of order. You're seditious. You're an anarchist. You're trying to turn over the government here. You're trying to turn over all authority over there in that neighborhood, right? Well, I am. I'd like to have everybody on the board do your job, review the documents, take a look at the documents, because if I ever hit the lottery, like I said, I'm not going to go after the HOA. I never went in there before, and I haven't been there yet. I've been a member for about 8 years. I paid on 3 houses. Now I'm paying on 2. One has been empty for almost a year and a half, and I'm still paying dues. And my key card to get me into the adult center was canceled 2 years ago. I'm not a member of the community. The only way I'm a member in the community is that I get a bill for these 2 houses every 4 months. Every 3 months. No, every 3 months I have to cough up nearly $600 for these 2 houses, and I can't sell this one because no realtor will list this house. Once I take them through the presentation of how the house got the DNA of the neighborhood, when I start telling them the DNA of Tract A and the DNA of that tee box and the DNA of this house, and talking about the how it's non-compliant, and that the occupancy permit for this house is a fraud. It's a fraud. It should be declared fraudulent because the house does not match the community blueprint for the finished floor elevation. It was tampered with by a local agreement between a local guy with the power of the pen with juice, downtown Buckeye, and a crooked builder that was more concerned with building a golf course than protecting these houses. Period. That's the statement. I have to tell every buyer that, and when I start telling them the truth about the house and the neighborhood, they immediately get in their car and go away. The wives are the first. The wives, they come here to look at the house, and within 10 minutes of my presentation about the house, all of a sudden they're in a hurry to go. I don't understand. People might spend $250,000 for a house, and you've got the owner that's owned it for 15 years trying to tell you everything about the house and the property, and then when he starts talking to you, the first thing you do is want to leave. You'd be more comfortable with a realtor coming in and letting you walk through the house, and if you got the feel for it, you buy it, and then 7 years down the road your sewer lines are all backed up. You'd be more satisfied with that than having a seller who found out through due diligence and the blood, sweat, and tears of living here for the last 15 years. You don't want to hear his explanation. I've done a ton of work to this house. I put the solar on it. It's got a backup air conditioning system. It's got a ventilation system. It's got an air recirculation system going through the house. I've done all this work on the yard, is regrading it. Blood, sweat, and tears, hard labor. And when I try to tell a buyer that, the first thing the wife wants to do is get in the car. They've got an appointment someplace. We got to get out of here. We don't want to be tainted. We don't want to be tainted by your negative, cynical explanation about the house. But look what they're passing up. Look what they're passing up. Anybody can have this house for $250,000 cash. And they're going to sign about 7 legal documents. They're going to sign documents like the permit for this house they're going to sign, and they're going to sign the page on the blueprint for the community where it has the finished floor elevation. They're going to sign the note page, the note on the front of the master document for the community that says the finished floor elevations can't be changed. They're forbidden to go near or touch the finished floor elevations that are stated on this plan. Okay? Next, they're going to sign the page that states the finished elevation in this master plan. There it is. There's the sign. There you go. You signed that? Good. You understand that they can change? Okay, here. Here's what it was on paper. That's what it came from when it left. Yeah, okay? Now, here's what it is. Here's the permit that was issued in Buckeye 15 years ago. And you understand, because I'm going to make you sign a paper that I did the math for you. I explained the scale, how the scale they were using. You understand that it was permitted to be built 3 inches below standard, 3 inches below spec. It was intentionally done. And it was intentionally done when they had $30,000 cash of my money. If I would have ever found out 9-10 months later at closing what they did, and I wanted to back out, they had by that time 4 installments. They had about $120,000 of my money. If I would have found out on the day of closing what they did with this finished floor elevation, and I would have had a loan with, like, say, $2,000 or $3,000 into it, some lending institution let me go all the way up to closing with just $3,000 into it. If I would have found out on that day or the day before what they did, I would have walked away from it. I would have gave up the $3,000 and walked away from it. You built it wrong. There it is. I can prove it. So there it is. I'll lose $3,000 before I buy this house, and then you'd be stuck. You'd be stuck, and that's what I'm saying. I'm going to find a lawyer, some young, ambitious lawyer, who is going to put on the title. We're going to attach to this title. You're going off after my lot all the time. All you do is send me letters saying if you don't pay your dues, we're going to put paperwork against your house the next day. Okay? Here's the house you're putting paperwork on. It's a house that's built wrong. It's going to be on the title that it was built wrong. When you go to sell it, the guy that buys it is going to see in the paper package that the house was built wrong. Now I'm going to start working.